Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect One Word Conversations. One Word Conversations is a self-discovery, relationship-building conversation designed to invite you to look at your language. Many times we can come up with the most wonderful words that we can think of and still find ourselves in a place of disconnection. Mainly because words don't just come with definitions. They come with stories, they come with emotions, they come with expectations. And so, what I'm inviting people to do is to have a one word conversation so you can learn a little bit about yourself, the person that you're speaking with, and maybe, just maybe, build on your relationship. One More Conversation is brought to you by IamWilliamBrown.com, a place to help you be yourself and live your life. One way that I spotlight what's available at the I Am William Brown store is our U cards. Our U cards are intention setting cards. They're a game, and they're also a part of the Beyond the Shell series. Beyond the Shell series includes a couple of children's books, Finding You Beyond What Protects You, and The Journey to Stay You. And there's even a journal. So the cards that I picked to set the intention for today's conversation is I am kind, you are worthy, and it's you I like. I don't know if you remember that from Mr. Rogers. It's you I like. So I don't know why I needed to say that again. This is the moment where I invite you to like, share, comment, ask questions, do all those things to let me know that you are also a part of this conversation. Now, this has been a fun week because we had just as many words revealed on the show as the words that were advertised. So this is another surprise revealing word. Guess I love the I don't know if the adventure of my guests, because I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone and kind of enjoy these moments because sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, surprises, right? I don't need any more surprises in my life, but as I do, I invite a guest in so we can have a conversation. Good morning.
Hello, William. How are you?
I am wonderful, thank you. This is the moment where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
Well, I am Theresa Crowley, and I'm from colorful Colorado.
Hmm.
I have been a disc jockey for 20 years. I've been a registered nurse for 25 years, and I am here, a podcaster. I like to go on the internet, and I have two podcasts. And I think with those two sites, I have introduced myself, I have shown a little bit about myself. And so now I am going to take the plunge, so to speak, and work with you and a surprise word.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, great. So, here is the word that we are going to dive in. The word that we have for today is survival. How does
Okay.
that word how does that word land for you?
Well, I think there's a lot of connotations for the word survival. And as we explore them, the obvious one is, you know, making good.
Hmm.
And by day, living day by day, a lot of people said, well, yeah, I survived. But for someone like myself who lives in um, a suburb and survival, um, day by day, just making good and really in my home, providing for my sister and my animals and paying the mortgage and, day by day, just doing the things that we do. I like to
Hmm.
call it the activities of normal living or daily
Hmm.
living. And
Wow.
for that, survival for me is not something I'm really seriously thinking about every single day, but
Mm.
it is maybe one of the ideas about survival as something that I'm not every day thinking about, but yet I am accomplishing it.
Right. Yeah, I totally get that. I've never heard that, making good. That's a very succinct way of looking at it. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the inner cities, and for me, survival was, um, I guess, a way of life in the sense that there wasn't there. It didn't feel like it was making good. It
Right,
was like barely alive, right? It was
right,
it was, on the edges,
right,
in the cracks.
right,
And really wanting to see what living was all about. See, try to understand, what they say, go from surviving to thriving, right?
right,
It's like, let's um let's just accomplish that surviving thing first, right? Let's
right,
just kind of really get a handle on that because it's something that I don't think I think about it every day, but it is something that it feels like it's the elephant in the room, and I think the for me how the pandemic and just as people call it 2020, right,
yeah,
um I survived, right, it it was there are so many lessons in surviving or survival,
mhm,
but from my standpoint it feels like it's hard to learn lessons because because you're so committed to just surviving.
right, right.
And that's so it's like how can I or learn and in the survival mode.
Well, and I kinda think too sometimes, I don't think you realize you're in survival mode until you pause.
Hmm.
And, with 2020, everyone was like, "Oh, I can't wait till next year." Well, okay, well, and the big one word and the big saying was, "I survived 2020." Well, you
Right.
survived as long as you've been around. I think,
Right.
when you were saying that you were living kind of on the edges, sure, you were, and you were making good, and you were doing what you needed to do to go to tomorrow.
Right.
And so, the 2020 and the pandemic has taught us all that even if we feel, that we're doing things day by day, there are things you need to do for, um, to be prosperous or to
Right.
be, quote, "surviving" through,
Right.
the illness.
Right. Yeah, it's sometimes it feels I don't know why this is coming up for me, but it feels like we as a society. So I'm gonna. I don't know. This is a feeling that I have. So I'm not like this is not an indictment or a judgment about the society,
Mm-mm.
but it's like there's a judgment on how people survive,
Right,
right? It's like if you don't survive the way I survive, there is a less than. You know what I mean? It's there's not this. Hey, they survive and that's good, right? Or they're
right, right,
surviving that's good. It is like, no, I don't like the way you're surviving, right? I mean,
right.
it's like there's like levels to this, and it's like the question that's coming up to me. It's like how can we just embrace survival just as a base thing and just have a level of gratitude and appreciation for that.
Exactly, and you're not doing things, the way I'm doing them is a common, thread that, we have in judgment, I think. It's not
Mm,
necessarily good. I
right,
think, if you see one color, let's just say for the color blue, and if you were to tell me what blue looks like to you, and I told you what blue looked like to me, we're
right,
still talking about blue,
right,
yet, and it is right, it's correct. It's just a perception of, maybe your favorite color blue is navy,
Right.
Mine is the blue sky that's out my window.
Right.
It's blue. And I think sometimes people um, all of a sudden say, no, you're not right. But really, we would both be right.
Right.
And so when
Mm.
we think of survival and we think of the activities that people do each and every day, or survival techniques that people are doing through this pandemic, I
Right.
think you're not doing anything wrong unless it's blatantly wrong. You might be talking about the same thing.
Right.
It's what it is to you individually. So I think it has brought up a lot of things to us, what a pandemic actually is.
Right.
We are very I'm gonna make the judgment call in the United States per se, because that's really what I've been experiencing lately. We're lucky,
Mm.
and sure, a lot of people have a more difficult time than others, yet we are surviving. I mean, unfortunately, we've had the deaths and we've had the situation about people becoming seriously ill,
Mhm.
but they have pulled through, or they have survived
Right.
being exposed, being ill, and now they're on the other side of it. And so we can look at that as survival too,
Mm.
because they've been down in the trenches, they've been sick, they've probably lost loved ones, or
Right.
they felt that they were losing the battle. But coming
Right.
around on the other side of it, they really have survived.
Mm. Yeah, I'm trying to the survival mentality, I'm trying to like process it. The reason why I have these words on the words that I have on my list are the words that just come up for me, and I just get stuck on them. There's something about it. There's something that I want to, expand my understanding or at least appreciation
Mhm.
of. And the one thing with survival or surviving is that I think what you were just speaking to, the appreciation that I survived,
Right.
instead of this like, oh crap, I survived that, type of thing. That's a feels a totally, but it's like I'm going to, life is going to do something else to me, and then I'm going to have to survive that again, type of
Right.
thing. But to really feel that one that the universe, God is working, that basically is working with me to be
Right.
a part of this. And it's not like I have to like fight with, with, my life on a daily basis to kind of get through, or the man or whatever thing that we say is the problem. My biggest um, desire, let's just say this, I have a long-term dream of like having a retreat center. But I don't want to say I have a problem. But the challenge that I have is that I don't think I'll survive in the woods, right? I mean, because, so I have this picturesque relationship with nature. I
Right.
like the way it looks, but I don't
Right.
like the way it smells, sounds, I mean, all the other stuff that comes with nature. And so until I really, find a level of appreciation, it's going to be a fight. So it's not
It
going to be a
is.
retreat, right?
Well,
It's
it's
going
not
to be a
gonna be
survival, right?
right. It's gonna be an exploration, and it's gonna be, an adventure.
Right.
And don't you think that sometimes survival is like an inner strength in a way? If
Mm,
you have even an inkling of that strength, um, the more that you survive, or the more that you can carry on, I think it grows,
mm, yeah.
because learn from prior experiences. And like, you've been out in nature, and kind of what you don't like,
Right.
but you have to find maybe the resource or the strength.
Right.
I always say go for the resource, use people, situations around you to help, because that's part of the journey that we're going on with that. And
Right.
the inner strength that you have to, okay, ask, or
Right.
to venture out on that rock in the middle of the stream, just,
Right.
to
Yeah,
have
that does
that
not sound.
courage. Courage is a good thing, because you enjoy it. You will enjoy it, and you'll make mistakes along the way, but hopefully
Right.
we learned from them. But I think it's the courage to ad- be on an adventure,
Yeah.
and
It's funny. I mentioned to you that I was in your state, a couple years ago at a camp, and so I'll connect it to the story of it wasn't a survival thing. I mean, it was
no,
we were very even though we were in cabins, it was it was very we were very taken care of. So I didn't feel that I was at risk of anything. But my experience at a summer camp when I was a kid, I ran into nature on one night when I was taking the trash out, and I was taking the trash out, and there was a family or a pack of raccoons at the garbage cans, and me, city boy, so it's like, okay, I'm human, you're animal. All I have to do is shoo you away and you'll, get moving. And
no,
the look that every one of those raccoons looked at me like, are you kidding me? Right. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not.
this
I'm
isn't
going
gonna
back.
work.
Yeah, I'm going back inside,
Yeah,
because they were here before me. But you know, a couple years ago, we were, I was at camp again. 52 years old. No fear. Kind of concerned, but I'm out there with other adults that can kind of deal with stuff. And damn it, not this raccoon. We're at the bonfire. Raccoon just comes up, and he wasn't like aggressive or anything, but he was just like, "Hey, what's going on? Hey, I would love to have some s'mores too." And it was just like, um, no, it's like,
no,
and so, I shoo him away, and he kind of like, and then he was like, okay, well, I guess I don't like those people on that side. Let's go on the other side. And so he would like just like appear, and I was just like, all right, I'm going in the cabin. I have no idea where this raccoon is going from. And so it wasn't like I wasn't in danger, but it's that feeling that it's like, am I going to survive the night? Am I going to like wake up in the middle of the night and there's like this raccoon in the cabin or so? I mean, it's
oh yeah,
like there's like
yep.
all of all of these things that are going through my mind, and so I'm just wondering if when we're in that survival mode or we're in and like I said, thinking that our lives are on the are in the balance, there's like these irrational thoughts just just come to mind, and then how can you survive that?
And that, those thoughts, those fears came back from taking out the trash.
Right.
And then you go to this one who's, "Hey, give me a s'more." It's kind of hard to judge. It's kind of hard to know how to approach. And getting up and going in the cabin, I mean, was your, um, technique to go. That's how you
Right.
were gonna but how do you survive the night? Shut the door. I mean, you have
Right.
some things that you were trying to do just to make it through the night, because who wants to wake up to, a raccoon on your chest when you're
Right.
sleeping or
Oh
something?
god.
You don't wanna think about that. And so, I mean, but I'm sure, when you let the mind wander, it could be
Right.
that way, or you might even just dream that
Right.
because, you're trying to, process it while you're, in bed. So I think, prior, experiences really do, influence how we carry on. And that raccoon, good thing it was at night, good thing because that's when they're out. You see a
Right.
raccoon, this is what I've been told, and I, have, experienced this. When a raccoon is up and out during the sunshine, they're sick,
Mm,
they're ill, they're searching for something, and so that's not a good thing, and they aren't behaving like they're supposed to, because
okay.
raccoons are nocturnal, and most of their activity is at night.
Right.
So, at least, proving that it was a raccoon that came out at night. Yay,
Right.
but
Right. He wasn't sick,
you
right?
don't know that,
Right. I don't know that, right?
and so, he was out there, probably just trying to get dinner. That was
Right.
his survival mode, is going out saying, "What do you got for me? Because I really kinda want it," yet
Right.
not being aggressive, so,
Right.
that was a good thing. But
Right.
until somebody told me that, because we had a couple in our, um, last home in our neighborhood, and we saw them on the side of the street, when we were driving into work. They were there, they didn't look too good, and it was, morning, it was
Right.
sunshine, and so then somebody told me that's probably what was going on.
Right.
Um, Somebody had to tell that person what was going
Right.
on, or they had to learn it, but, um, I think, when you're in the cabin and you're like, "Yeah, I wanna make it till the morning,"
Right.
you know? You're
Right.
thinking about that, but you probably didn't think of it in survival mode. You were just like, "I just wanna make it till morning," and
Right.
you might have had a whole family of raccoons around, and only one of them went out there to get food, you know?
Right. Uh,
I we, kind of sometimes I think, look at this, that was my biggest challenge, but I think when you look at survival mode, even the past week or, even, globally,
mhm.
when, people in Texas and everyone, they didn't have power.
Right.
They didn't have water. They didn't know, what was coming up next or when they would have it again.
Right.
That to me is survival mode
Right.
because, what I took for granted, and I grew up in cold weather, they might not have ever experienced that. My nephew was down in Texas.
Right.
He grew up in cold weather. He and his family, I were not
Mm.
concerned about because, you know, um, they knew what to do. They knew how to keep the water. They knew things. But
Right.
someone who never experienced
Right.
such dramatic change in their everyday life like that, that's survival mode for
Right.
who knows how long it had to be for them. Could could have been 2 days, could have been the week, and they're still experiencing those problems.
Right.
So, that's survival mode for them in a different way that we have experienced.
Yeah, there is so much of my life, let's just say, that I'm like dependent on other people or other
Mhm.
things that kind of happen. And it's like I don't know. It's like I know how electricity happens, right? I know how,
Right,
but I don't know. I don't have the resources um, to provide electricity if something happens. You know,
right,
there's a large part of I know um, where food comes from, but for the most part, it's like food comes from the grocery store. That's it, right?
mhm, right,
Somebody else knows where else to get it or
right,
how to get it to the store. And so, really, there is a sense for me that there was this quote, or maybe it was a meme that you must participate in your own survival.
yes,
um, and it hit me because um, it seemed obvious, but it was like at the same time, it feels like sometimes I'm not participating, right?
right,
I am waiting for the lifeguard, as I say, the
mhm,
lifeguard on duty. Someone else is going to, if I do something stupid, somebody else is going to save me, right?
right, someone
Someone,
will
yeah,
be there to give you a hand.
right. It's that type of thing. And for me, the participation in my own survival isn't waiting until um, I'm at dire straits, but I know what to do to cause me to survive this situation.
Right,
So, like you were saying, my surviving, the raccoon was going inside, right? Like, it's
right, yeah,
like, I mean, it's like sometimes it's just as simple as that, but really, really um, taking steps to help you survive is what I got out of that.
Well, do you think sometimes too, I mean, we have been exposed now to a large population that was having difficulty. And so maybe this is a aha moment to research, to do a little investigating, read book or, Google it or, about things that you don't
Right,
know that you might need to know.
right,
Because I think sometimes it is um, how do I put it? It's an introduction. It's a thump on the head
right,
that you don't know very much of this. So, hey, maybe I should look into it. Or,
right,
so that if something like that should happen, I would know where to start.
right,
And I mean, you don't have to, gather up everything and,
right. Get the
be
toilet
a
paper and
be a
right, and
doomsday kind of
right,
person.
yeah.
But on the
Hoard
other
stuff,
hand,
right,
maybe it would be, what should you do? Or how
right,
does this work? Be a little more um, active in your own life,
hmm,
in your survival, so to speak. So if something dire happens, you would know where to go. And when you were talking about, that happening, I was always thinking about it takes a village,
mm,
and getting to know your neighbors, getting to know what's going on. Because every time we have a large storm, they're on there saying, check on your neighbors, make sure they're
right,
okay. I used to
right,
have some neighbors that were old and
right,
had mobility issues. So I would check on them. I would say, do you need anything? I'm mobile. I can drive my car, in the snow. Do you need to go to an appointment? Do you need to, get some supplies in the house?
right,
And I think it does kind of take a village. It just makes the survival a little easier.
right. I think here's a challenge that I have with I don't I'm not saying I don't believe that sentiment. I think it's an African proverb. Um, but we don't live um, with a village mentality.
No,
And so waiting for survival or a very difficult situation to call on that village is it's kind of I don't want to say too late, but it can create challenges. I think most of I'm a self-awareness coach, and
right,
so in order for me, and I invite my clients to look at this also, in order for me to really be available to the collective, to your village, is you have to know yourself and what you can contribute, and then be willing to share that. And because the way it feels like for me, and maybe I just need to do better of it, um, is that our way of connecting with each other, our way of really, seeing who our neighbors, recognizing who our neighbors, how we can be of in support of each other, is kind of getting diminished. I mean, in a sense that because there are so many, I guess, practices that kind of it feels like go against connecting. I,
right.
I
They
don't I
do.
don't know what I'm saying. Right. Yeah. Um, and so it's like I'm connected. I know my neighbor, but I don't know my neighbor. Right. It's
Mhm,
like,
mhm,
it's like I've seen my neighbor. Right.
right.
And past just waving at him. Yeah. I don't think I want to hang out with him. And I hope
Right,
nothing
right.
bad happens, because
Well, yeah,
don't know
you
if I'm
may
gonna
need
go over
them.
there. Right. Yeah, I
Mhm,
mean, I may need them, and I don't know if he would help me or if I want to help him. And I would hate to think that, but it's like, how can we really be there for each other?
right,
Like it says on the airplane, how we can, put our mask on so we can take care of other people, right?
right,
How can we do that and not just stop at just put my mask on and just kind of good luck. Right? You
Mhm.
know, I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean,
right,
then that's true. We don't know. I think the culture has changed so much that, we don't know what we don't know about people. I always introduce myself, say, I get to know my neighbors in a way that, "Hey, how are you?" Blah, blah, blah. If it's more than the one potluck a summer, that's about all we know
right,
in the neighborhood here. I know who they are. If I knocked on the door, I'd have to tell them hi. In their ring, I'd have to say, "Hi, I'm your neighbor,"
right.
because they might
You
not
know,
answer the door. We have
right,
gone to that kind of a culture. And I
right,
think in that respect, yeah, we're probably on our own, unfortunately,
right,
unless you've got a good set of people around you. I think that's another reason why survival takes on so many different meanings to us.
right,
I mean, we're not in a battle right now for food per se. Maybe we need
some
to
of
learn
us.
how to
Right,
grow a garden,
right,
but there's another maybe half of the world that is in the battle,
right,
for their everyday life, and
right,
just making it day one, day two, day one, day two. I mean, food, water, shelter are hard,
right,
difficult. They are not necessarily attainable on a regular basis. And I think
right,
their outlook on survival is, can I make it till tomorrow?
right,
And that is a lot of inner strength, and that's a lot of knowledge that may be passed on generation to generation. But, there's also the push for survival, to push beyond despair.
right. You know,
Okay, I
I've
really
heard.
bring that down, but,
No,
it's, I do think about that, and I do, um, somehow count my blessings in a way that we're not there yet,
right,
and,
right,
they're living in a whole different, way than we are, and, their survival is right up in front of their face every single day. And
right,
like we talked about before, our survival, we may notice it, once a week or something. Oh, yeah, I made it through. And the little
right.
victories, they have little victories every single day.
Yeah, you know, I'm trying. This is, I think it goes back to, I guess, what I brought in earlier about, you know, us having a judgment of how people are surviving. And I
Mhm.
and I and I think yes, I believe that the way survival shows up in the United States is totally different in other countries,
Yeah,
right? And um however, there is still a level of suffering and survival that um, I don't want to say is acceptable, but we kind of um, it feels like I'll say this because I try to stay away from judgment. It feels like we make a judgment. There is a cause and effect.
mhm,
It's like if somebody is living on the street, it's because they did something or didn't do something, right? If somebody is hungry, it's because they did or didn't do something. And sometimes that's just not the truth. And if we are willing to, as a society, and my kind of have a baseline that this is how um, this is what's an acceptable living standard. I don't know about when it gets into wages and all that other kind of stuff. I don't go there
right, right,
because it has um, our survival is way beyond wages. So when people just say, "Oh, we need a minimum wage," and just kind of just stop there, because my understanding of economics and business is that if you're going to put a fixed cost on someone to do something, they're going to that's a fixed expense and things are going to go up. So now um, what costs $5 may cost $7 now,
right.
and so your minimum now, you know, you can't just keep on going up. So it has to be, for me, a more of a heart, a level of kindness, a level of worthiness. I think that's why the worthiness card came up for today, is that my worthiness has nothing to do with my doing.
Mm.
And so I have to see that for myself. And I
Okay, I have lost you, so please continue and it'll come back.
live.
All right, we're
Um,
rebooting, so
that's
there,
the
you're
that,
there.
that's the one thing about doing this live, is sometimes it does some kind of crazy things like that. Right? Um,
Okay,
but
so we just kinda hang in there, don't we?
we, we just kind of hang in there
And
and
you
just
agree too, and when you were talking about, I don't like it when people say, they're driving by, the homeless camps or and say, "What?" Or, the people who are, signing, and they just say,
right,
"Oh, get a job." There's so many more tiers to that, and
right,
their survival right now is signing, so,
right,
they can have funds, okay, I think survival is, they get up every day,
right,
and, they sometimes don't want to, um, not be in the homeless situation that they're in. You can offer them lots of places to be and stay, but there may be other reasons that that's not going to be okay for them. They don't feel
right,
that they can survive there. And
right,
the prejudgment there, I think, is really difficult. I think, and this is all my opinion, guys, but don't send me cards and letters. But I just kind of think,
this is
as long as you do what you can do,
right,
and if your tendency is to help in the shelter, donate money, maybe, your kind of participation in helping, great,
right,
go for it. But
right,
I don't like the prejudgment on these people because on anybody, really. I
right,
mean, if they're living in a castle or they're living on the street, I mean, that's what they won't know and that's what they do.
right,
And, so their mode, either one of their modes in survival
right,
works for them at this
right,
time. If it didn't, we can help a little bit, but, sometimes, it takes that inner part, and I'm gonna say that
right,
inner strength again,
right,
to, move on, to do a
right.
little bit more.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, and it's like I feel like I need to apologize, but sometimes the one thing that I love about this show is that I invite people to share their thoughts about survival, their thought, not a prescriptive,
Mhm.
um, politically correct or anything like that, and it's not to, and it's mainly for you to learn more about yourself.
Right.
And you learn a little bit about me, and that's just it. And it's like there are some people that, um, I know, disagree with, maybe some of the things that I said, maybe some of the things that you said, and that's, my standard is that, I don't believe everything that I think. So why would I believe everything you think, right?
Okay.
So I mean, so there, it's just that's just a reality. Well, that's my reality of my thoughts, and so yeah, I just want you to feel that, no one's going to send you. Hopefully, no one's going to send you cards or anything, or, track you down and say, "I can't believe you said that." I mean, I have a conversation around labels, and when I first started the conversation, I a part of a couple of speeches that I did, I said, "Homeless is not a person; it's a lifestyle,"
Mhm.
and I got ridiculed, and I got all kind of things like it's not a lifestyle, it's like,
You got hammered.
Right. And it was like, um, yeah, what I was trying to say, or what I wanted to say, is just the way that people are living. When you put a homeless person on it, a homeless man, then then they're living up to that, what that means. There are so many stories of successful people who at once in their life, in their journey, lived in their car, did not have a home. And that I believe the only way that they were able to not stay in that situation is because they didn't see themselves as a homeless person. They saw themselves currently living in that situation.
Right. Right.
And so the more that we're able to separate that experience from the person, then we'll be willing to help in their survival, be a part of their um, their life, and figuring out ways to do something else. So yeah, I totally get that. And like I said, for me, I I wanted to explore this mainly because there is, you know, there was a part of my life that I had a lot more resources than I have now. And I get in my head that I'm barely surviving because I don't have what I've had before. And
Mhm.
that's really not the truth. It's just that's a different level of surviving, different
Right.
level of, and it's like, but we get conditioned to our, when people say our best self, right? It's like that moment where everything was great and we said all the great things and everybody loves us. We think that's our best self. It's like,
Right.
no, we were just being ourselves. Why don't we continue to be ourselves? And so there are times that I show up as myself that it doesn't really matter how much money I have or don't have.
Right.
It's the people that I'm connected to. It's the way that I'm communicating. It's the thing that, and that's why I really want to get in my bones that because I was lucky enough, grateful enough to wake up this morning,
Right.
I survived and I'm
That's right.
surviving.
To live
And that's
another day.
to live another day and an opportunity um, to really be grateful. I start the show happy today,
Mhm.
and what that means is happy is a level of gratitude and appreciation. And today is all we have.
Exactly.
So look for moments to be grateful and have appreciation every day in this moment. That's what happy today is. I think we can talk about this for hours. However,
I think we could too, but,
right.
I
Yeah,
that message that you're leaving us with today, I think is, very timely, and I hope it, means a lot to people because I think you're dead on with it.
right. So, is there anything that you want to leave everybody with?
I just feel that today, and every day, we should just find out how to be a little more kind.
Hmm,
I, appreciate kindness in any form, if it's a smile, if it's holding my door open, and I just feel that to improve the world, you should just be a little more kind.
wonderful. And that was the other card that came up.
Mhm.
Kind. I am kind. Thank you very much.
It's
Um,
been fun.
yeah, this has been great. How was it? How was the surprise? Was it an adventure?
Oh, I would like to do that. I mean, really, because then you're getting me, spontaneous, so I thought it was great.
Right. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. I hope you could stick around for a moment so we can say goodbye
We can do
in the
that.
green room. So that'd be great. Thank you. Oh, survival. Wonder how that's showing up for you. Sometimes when we think of survival, or when I think of survival, it gets very heavy very quickly. And then there's a level of gratitude and thankfulness that comes over me. So it's in the duality of survival. What are we going to focus on? I love how kindness came up within the conversation. Because at first, before we can be kind to others, I believe we must be kind to ourselves. And from that kindness to ourselves, it is easy to be kind to others. I hope this conversation has brought clarity and value to not just to your day, but to your life. I invite you to reach out to me at IamWilliamBrown.com for a complimentary coaching session to help you be yourself and live your life. Because the world wants you, the world needs you, but the world isn't waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you next time on One Word Conversation.